I welcome everybody. This is Living Hip Hop, conversations about hip hop education. I'm your host, Seth Markle, Associate Professor of History and International Studies at Trinity College and Faculty Advisor to Trinity Chapter, the Temple of Hip Hop, in the annual Trinity National Hip Hop Festival, along with my other co-host, Khaiim the Rapoet. Introduce yourself, Khaiim.
In the building, Khaiim the Rapoet. I'm your co-host, Living Hip Hop, with my esteemed colleague, and we have some amazing guests, people today who you would not think it is possible to achieve dreams like and empower others to achieve dreams like. So, strap in your seatbelts. Please spread the link. You know, this is live on YouTube, Living Hip Hop, and look out for links to rewatch the International Hip Hop Festival virtual for the first time this year.
Right, so we're going to get right into it. This is episode 2, titled Groundings with My Sisters. And just for you that don't know, this is a series where we're talking to featured participants and organizers of the 15th Trinity International Hip Hop Festival, which was held April 9th through 11th virtually. And you can check out the ticker right here below. And we have Jasmin Agosto, one of the co-organizers. Jasmin was a founding member of the Trinity Chapter Temple of Hip Hop in 2006, graduated from Trinity College in 2010, worked in the city Hartford Youth Service Department to bring the first Youth for Change hip hop conference and showcase to the Trinity International Hip Hop Festival in 2010 when she served as the lead student organizer. Currently, Jasmin serves as the community outreach manager for the Hartford History Center, where she has spearheaded the formation of the Hartford Hip Hop Digital Collection, and it operates now as the founder of SageSeeker Productions, a creative expression outlet here in the city of Hartford. Jasmin also serves as a community partner for the Youth for Change Showcase for the 15th festival. So there's a lot there, a lot to talk about. Jasmin, welcome to Grounding with My Sisters, Living Hip Hop.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, y'all. And this is fam right here. So I'm super excited and curious as to what there's a lot to discuss.
A lot to discuss. We really wanted to have this because we wanted to be able to have documented stuff to reflect, and document the festival in more concerted ways, but then also to share with people, because I don't think a lot of people know what goes into organizing the festival. But like I was saying in our first conversation, we are also, at least for me, what makes this festival so unique from an organizing standpoint is the intergenerational element that goes into this. Yes, this is student run primarily, but they're working with so many different people from so many different generations of the hip hop movement. And so we have, I think, 4 generations representing. You represent a different generation than Khaiim and myself, which is interesting. And then there's other dynamics. It's multi-ethnic, gender dynamics, it's a real whole bunch of elements there. We really wanted to bring you on this show because you have experienced the festival from its get. 2006 as a student organizer, and then now as a community partner. So you have been with the festival again with Minister Server and Greg, and you've been with the festival since day one. I've only been since number 5 when you were lead organizer, 2010. And Jasmin, I got to give you kudos because when I came to Trinity, and I heard there was a festival, I was super skeptical. And I said, I'm going to go to this. No one knows who I am. I'm going to check out this thing to see what they do. And this was when you were lead organizer, KRS-One, blown away. I became a believer. I couldn't believe what y'all's generation had pulled off. I'm serious. Super skeptical, super adultist. Trinity College, you're joking, right? And you guys pulled this off. Can you just, first, I'm going to start with the first question. Just kind of talk about, one, that experience, right? Of being a student organizer of the festival, where it started and where you've seen it come at this point. And then we'll get more into the 15th.
Yeah. Oh my God. Huge question. I went to the first annual Trinity International Hip Hop Festival as a senior in high school. I saw it advertised in the Hartford Advocate, which no longer exists. And I was like, oh, hip hop with multiple languages? What's happening? What is this? I have to go. And it's free. I went with my brother and like a homie. Like we came. I stayed at the front of the stage for the entirety of the time that I was there. And I remember like some of the early community partners, like Jose Camacho, like was behind the stage and like was like, I was watching you. Like I was like, I saw you from there. And I was just so entrenched in this like incredible thing where it was like, it was global, it was worldwide. We were seeing cultures just from around the world, and it was all hip hop, you know, and it was just, I was like, fell in love. And honestly, it's a major reason why I ended up choosing Trinity to begin with. You know, to me, I was like already entrenched in the arts community in Hartford. And I was like, okay, now I see myself at Trinity. Before I thought it was athletic fields, right? And I was like, this is not a space for me. And mad white people, I don't know, you know, but that made me feel like I could find a home there. I saw Khaiim perform before I even met him. I think at like an event even before that, some fundraiser, something like that. But anyway, I mean, coming in, I was like, I was trying to locate my family within Trinity College, and Temple of Hip Hop was the way to do that. Z Santiago, like, pretty much automatically recruited me. I think I met Z the summer before I even started my fall semester. There used to be like a little open mic spot on Pratt Street. And that's when I met Khaiim, Sacha, the kids, like Alima sat on my lap, like as a baby, you know?
Sandals.
So it was like I felt like already like this was part of my family before I even started as a freshman at Trinity. And so I think for me throughout the years, the festival has always been that grounding spirit that, you know, no matter what we were dealing with as students of color on Trinity's campus and like trying to find my voice, I guess, in classes, Temple of Hip Hop and the Hip Hop Festival was our way to exist loudly and boldly on the campus, period. And for me, I was like one of the few students that was actually from Hartford and from the area. So I was like, you know, myself, Haben Abraham, you know, there was a couple, Ashley Fleming, you know, a couple of us were from the area, and we were like, well, but like, let's make sure that this is a Hartford event, that no matter what we do, we got to continue to build this as a community engaging process. And so by the time I was a senior in college, Temple of Hip Hop had shifted because Z and Katie, who were the two like lead student organizers, now graduated. And I kind of took on the helm and recruiting all new students, freshmen. This is Mackenzie and Anthony and, you know, all these other students came in. You know, I was excited that the city of Hartford was like looking to partner with us to work on this whole Youth for Change element and bringing in the teens in a very like, you know, focused, intentional way. And so it was an opportunity. It came with money. It came with support from the city, and we went for it. And I remember that first year we filled the Washington room with teens.
Yep.
And I didn't even have to lead it. I had another student, Molly Bernstein, like kind of lead the effort while I went and ran around and did other stuff. And to your point, Seth, too, about KRS, like I remember him coming on campus and like he walked on, we were like by a tree by Gallows, what used to be Gallows. And he's like, so who's in charge here? And like little old me, like, I am, you know, like, and he was like, honestly, Temple of Hip Hop has always been an ideology and like, you know, a way of life, but y'all are manifesting it and making it real. And he was like, and this is like I haven't seen this anywhere else. And like, that was an epic moment and confirmation that what we were doing was critical. Not only in Hartford, not only like in the state, but like nationally, internationally. So yeah, I mean, just meeting and building with incredible artists through the years, incredible academics, community organizers, understanding how hip hop is a force a community organizing force throughout the world. So I don't know.
Khaiim, I thought you were going to Khaiim you next. I think we were going to bounce off questions. So
I'm thankful that you were able to say all of that in so little words. I mean, you captured everything that is the essence. And if we could just let your experience, right? A young sister checking in, being in the arts community, hearing about hip hop in her area, and then being like, oh, I'm welcome in these halls of higher intelligence as an intellectual, but also as a cultural being and a human being with family. And now I'm going to proceed to like make college work for me and make myself work for college. I'm honored and flattered for my role in that, right? Like the fact that you saw someone like me in the community doing things, but then also being in this institution where it's like, oh, someone who does stuff in the community is part of this institutional thing. I can see myself being in the community and doing, like, I'm just honored. And it reminds me, one, you already know that you probably played that role several hundreds of times over by now, right? There's probably kids who have not even told you, who have come and seen you and come to Trinity, either graduated or taking classes or just come to the festival like, oh, that's the thing, that girl right there, that lady right there, you know? So I'm honored because I know I did something that we are supposed to do as hip hop artists when we go in these spaces, which is open up the cipher, show and prove, right? You don't just push somebody else in the cipher. You go in the cipher, you show and prove, and then you let someone else come in the cipher, and then it rotates around, and you keep expanding the cipher. So I can't really, I don't have a follow-up question for you on that because you really explained what that is. You validated me. I think you actually played that role for Professor Markle, right? Who's coming in as a professor, but he explained the same thing from the elder teaching, right, in the institution, but like, what's this happening? And here you are as a young student, but welcoming him in to like feeling more like, oh, I'm really in this right place. I'm in this, you know, I've studied with Robin Kelly, who's like the KRS of academia in certain ways in terms of being like someone who really gets social and cultural and academics and ideology. And he studied under him, comes to Trinity, where this type of thing isn't expected, and then seeing you do your thing lets him know, oh, I'm in this place and I can continue this work here.
Yeah, I think Jasmine, you know, not only going to the festival and seeing the festival itself and what was manifest, but then also you're the one who, after the festival, was like, they need a faculty advisor. I didn't know who to contact to be like, I want to be a part of this. You're the one who reached out and planted that seed as far as a far more, you know, hands-on, you know, supportive faculty advisor in this, because, you know, you had faculty support, but not as far as like the kind of support that was needed. You're the one who identified me. You're the one who introduced me to Camacho. You're the one who essentially I heard Khaiim, Self-Suffice. First time I heard that name was from you. So it's like what the role that you played in this web and this network. And me as an historian is just saying that 2010 was very important for the festival. It's a critical moment because it was no longer run by Z as far as that student who had that. It was under new sort of student leadership. And that transition was key. That was kind of a make or break moment because a lot of these things, because of turnover and college stuff, it can fall apart because they don't have the structures in place to continue with the organizing. And that's what makes this unique because the students keep turning over. The festival keeps continuing because of the connections to Hartford. And when you were talking, it made me say, I've always say as faculty advisor, oh, there'll be no there could be no festival without the students, but actually there would be no festival of this kind without Hartford, because you can replicate this, but you actually can't replicate this as far as the community connections and how much Hartford hip hop culture is embedded in the festival. That's a comment that hopefully, can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, can I ask you a question directly about that too? Like, how important is this community outreach component, and it's especially you and me being in that space where we have people who participated in Trinity, we have people who have but like we have been students at Trinity and graduates and involved in the history of it. So like part of the issue is that for those who aren't students or faculty, they're always like, there's the students, and the students are like this, and it's like there's no students. There's a pathway that individuals come in while they're trying to get through their classes and manage this and do this festival, and then they go out. Like the goal is to graduate college and go out, right? So there's no like students that have like this monolithic attitude or idea. They're coming in every year. But how important is that for people who've been students and also been in the community outside the school to be the glue to say, look, these students are dealing with it. They're new on this. And we have a mixture of something new and something old. Is that, how important is that directly?
Yeah, working with the students for the past couple of years in particular, and this year, right? This year, our first ever virtual, we had an entire year where we did not have the hip hop festival. And so we had students we had a lead student that had never experienced a physical festival leading the Trinity International Hip Hop Festival. And students that had also not experienced the physical festival. And so like, I'm just even thinking about like, what are they imagining? How are they, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are they imagining that this is, or that this could be, And it's like, I can't even comprehend that because we've done the physical. So we know at least we have some type of basis.
Memory.
And, for me working with my student directly, I worked with a great student, Mercy, but she really just had nothing to go off of. And so a lot of it was like, bet, I'm gonna help you with the structure. I'm gonna help you with the community connections that we've built over the past 10, 12, 13 years, right? Like, just like, let's continue. Let's keep bringing these folks in. Studio 860 is essentially a founding partner, if you really think about it. And like, to be able
big love to Jolette and people.
Jolette,
shout out, like
come on, like
deep love.
we're talking about a very serious community institution that the people, the young people that are now in the senior company were children. And we've seen them grow up through the hip hop festival. And they have gone through the young, the junior, the senior companies. And they literally have built that. And we've seen them in the battles, in performances, leading workshops, teaching other young people. Like that is a prime example of like, you have to be understanding that history, connected to that, building relationships over the years where I know, oh yeah, I could text my girl real quick. We got them booked. Like Khaiim, half the time of what we do is we're sending texts and making phone calls to people that we already know, that we've been building relationships with for decades, / even people that we just meet on the street and are building with, right? Because we're just out at heaven and we're out dealing with whatever, or just in the neighborhood, or
and I'm glad you're saying that part, because isn't that what we can bring to it? Like the element of always respecting what is here before, while always respecting that we're in an elite situation of privilege where it's easy for people to say, oh, Jazz and Suffice, they know the people. And it's like, so that it makes it incumbent upon us to always be like, we don't know the people. We know people so far, but we know that there's always someone who isn't recognized, and we have agency to put the feelers out, and hopefully always find someone who's amazing, and just not knowing that they're allowed to be amazing, and not knowing that this isn't like a private clique where you're not allowed, right?
It's about having that pulse. So like, I always call on, now I've been calling on Prince Eli, right? Because he runs a teen production studio at the library.
Yeah.
Our producer series was half based on the teens that have been working on production through that studio at the library, mixed with G Wiz and the OGs, right? And like all of a sudden having conversations between these like ill up and coming producers that are 18, 19, 20 years old, you know, with like OGs that have been in it for a minute, but they're still young too. Like they still, you know, like it's so beautiful to see that. Y'all saw the Youth for Change showcase. And like, for me, that was such a beautiful moment because of the different people that were tuning in from around the world and I was like, and these are all Hartford teens.
Jazz, can I ask you a question about the Youth for Change showcase?
Yeah.
Was it your idea to have at the end and say like, how do you want to change Hartford?
Yeah.
That was like the cherry on top for me. That was really dope.
Because there's always this through line in the Youth for Change conferences that are like, there's always this reflection place, you know, of like, well, what do you love about your community? What do you want to see change? What are your visions, right? And that like, no matter what workshop or whatever you're doing, an exciting project you're working on, there's always that thing about like, you know, you as a young person, you know your city. You already bring knowledge to the table. So, and we have to be able to highlight that and build on that. You know, I would love to see more of that. I would love, you know, the festival is one time a year, but I would really love to see the students and myself do a better job of really building with year long how, you know, teens are doing community organizing work in the city.
Yeah, and I want to just, you know, we don't have too much time, but that is a very interesting challenge because I know from the perspective of my trying to advise the Temple students about the community partners don't live in the college bubble. Our community partners have full-time jobs. We can't ask too much of them. And I think they struggled with wanting to do more year-long programming, but also understanding that we can't do this without our connections to the community partners, and we can't ask too much from them. So it's a very interesting challenge there, right? Because, you know, at the end of the day, you know, we don't want to exploit the relationship, which gets exploited all the time by colleges and universities. You know what I'm saying? But Jazz, can you offer some? This is our last question. So
yeah, I know.
I knew this was gonna go fast, but it's good. It's okay. Yeah. Could you just kind of give us your, you know, we talked about Youth for Change Showcase, but overall, this Virtual Fest, kind of talk about your takeaways, reflections as not only organizing it, but then we have the luxury of knowing what's going on behind the scenes, what it took to make what happened, and being able to be viewers, right? So what was it like for what you viewed? Could you just give us a little?
And what was like the major surprise that you never saw before?
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay.
Maybe good in that.
Let me try and do this in 2 minutes. All right. So like, it was hard. It was hard for my heart and for my spirit to experience the virtual festival in the sense that like, it just is not, it's not the same. It's just not the same. Right. I was holding on to those moments of like the chat function, right? Where it's just like, oh, you're here too. Yes. What up? Like big up each other, hearts, emojis, like, you know, feeling that like little bit of that little tiny essence of connection, because that is everything for the festival.
That's right.
That is everything for the festival.
Spontaneous meeting up with people.
Spontaneous moments.
But feeling like family.
And feeling like family automatically, like that is the festival, right? I still thought it was, and we had major challenges with the Youth for Change workshops. Like it was like that's a whole nother conversation. And it was cool to do beautifully shot performances. The teens really enjoyed being able to be in a real production studio, meeting real producers, feeling like they were part of something major, even if they couldn't get the full audience type of experience. You know, Studio 860, the dancers killed it. I really enjoyed the Bravado Magenta screening and discussion. I thought that was one of the most beautiful performative documentary projects I've ever seen in my life. And I've been like sending it around. I thought it was so poignant and incredible and really dope to hear him speak afterwards. I was really moved by that project. And like, it was also nice to be able to do that and not like, be in like a t-shirt and boxers and like not have to kind of be able to kind of absorb it without the energy of all these people around me. So that
type of thing was actually easier for a lot of people to attend and focus on.
For me, it was really interesting because after each night ended, I was like, wow, I can just go to bed. I don't have to hang around campus. You know what I mean? Like, so there was certain elements, but yeah, I agree 100%. Spontaneity was gone. The ciphers that you see indoors, outdoors by Mather, people hanging out. I mean, you know what I mean? There's certain live components that you just can't replicate virtually.
Right.
But
I will say real quick. I had watch parties on both Friday and Saturday night. And Saturday night was kind of lit. Like, we went to my girl Janika's house. We were in her basement. We had like a mini basement party watch session. You know what I mean? Like, we were able to like listen to the DJs and vibe and eat food. So it was like, we were able to still do a small communal experience around the festival that was completely different, that we've never had before. So I think there's still something to that. And maybe even considering what opportunities we can do virtually, even while we do a live festival, because of even the capacity for so many people to be able to experience it from around the world. So,
not just bringing in international, but now shooting out international, opening the cipher in that space. There's some things that even when we're in person, we're definitely going to look. And that's something Professor Mark and I we're all starting to validate, okay, there's some things that need to be part of this, right?
Right. So listen, we're going to have to end there. Jasmin, thank you so much for joining us on Living Hip Hop, conversations about hip hop education, reflecting on the Trinity International Hip Hop Festival. That was Jasmin Agosto, Hartford History Center, Community Liaison, Hartford Hip Hop Digital Collection, and Community Partner for our Youth for Change Showcase.
You're seeing a lot more from her.
Thank you very much, Jazz.
Make sure you check the links on the bottom of the screen. And Jasmin, can you just look in the camera and say, I am living hip hop?
I am living hip hop.
Yeah, thank you, Jazz.